Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Belle again, and welcome to The Roads with Belle. Today is April 6, 2025, and this is episode 85 of The Roads Not Taken, which is a weekly series where we go over the news that was unreported, underreported, didn't get the coverage we felt that it should, or we just found it interesting. And then we go through a few questions from y'all. Today is April 6th, and today is National Library Day and the start of National Library Week. With everything going on, they could probably use the support right about now. And on this date in 1909, the Peary Expedition claimed they reached the North Pole. There's apparently way more controversy about this claim than you might imagine. And starting with foreign policy, China responded to Trump's tariffs with tariffs of their own, and it looks like they also derailed the TikTok deal, which is personally important to Trump. Trump had to sign an extension of 75 days to try to work out the deal. The incoming Danish Prime Minister has told Trump talk of annexing Greenland is unacceptable. The toll of the Myanmar quake is now estimated to be over 3,000. South Korean President Yoon was ousted after his impeachment was upheld. French leadership suggested ending investment in the U.S. because of Trump's tariffs. A U.S. judge is contemplating hitting the Trump administration with contempt proceedings. DOGE apparently now has the Peace Corps in its sights. The destruction of U.S. soft power is almost complete. In U.S. news, Trump fired the boss of the National Security Agency, and Congress is demanding answers. A Republican in the House is introducing legislation that would require Congress to confirm tariffs imposed by the president. Reporting says that about 26,000 of those fired by DOGE are likely to be rehired. GOP senators are, for lack of a better term, freaking out over the potential electoral impacts of the Trump tariffs. Senator Kennedy from Louisiana kind of summed up all of their feelings with, quote, "In the long run, we're all dead." Ted Cruz said Republicans are risking a, quote, "political bloodbath" at the midterms. The Interior Department has ordered the parks remain open and accessible, even as personnel gets cut. We have now progressed to the just demand it system of human resources management. The Trump administration is being sued by 23 states over the cuts to public health funding. In cultural news, a large quantity of books were removed from the Naval Academy's library. Because apparently in today's military, they're building warriors too fragile to handle reading. The National Endowment for Humanities is facing staffing cuts, and the administration seems to be withholding funding from libraries, museums, and so on. We're nearing idiocracy. In science news, a rat named Ronan has been sniffing out landmines. That sounds weird, but it's actually pretty common. What isn't common is that little Ronan has found 100 landmines. Scientists are suing NIH, HHS, and RFK Jr. over all of the cuts to research grants. In economic news, the stock market saw its worst week since the last time Trump was in office. The U.S. has started imposing the 10% tariff. The chairman of the Federal Reserve indicates he sees the tariffs causing inflation. Are you shocked? I'm shocked. Very, very shocked. Anyway, don't expect rates to come down anytime soon. JP Morgan says the recession risk is now 60%. China mocked Trump over the market reaction to his tariffs. The Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson literally posted, quote, "The market has spoken." In oddities, Governor Newsom is trying to create a loophole for California products when it comes to international trade. On to the Q&A. Why did SCOTUS side with Trump over California with teacher funding? Every legal YouTuber said the state was going to win. Okay, so the decision that came down from the Supreme Court didn't decide the case. It just didn't preempt the state case. Basically, the state admitted that they could continue funding for those programs in the short term while the case played out. And if the state wins, they can get the money back from the feds. The headlines are just really bad on this one. You talk about Warren Buffett like he's an investing god. Why no video on him saying Trump was making the best economic moves in 50 years? What's wrong? Feeling dumb? How about you stop believing fear-mongering and trust the plan? Well, there actually is a video on this. I don't know if it's going to be out by the time that you see this, though. But spoiler alert, Warren Buffett didn't say that. The thing Trump shared, that wasn't true. So maybe you shouldn't trust everything he shares. Just saying. Why are they calling it a bear market instead of a crash? Okay, so the NASDAQ fell more than 20%. So the difference between a crash and a bear market is how quickly it falls that 20%. So calling it a bear market also helps to not scare the investors. Dear Belle, thank you for your coverage of the Trump tariffs. I was surprised when a few channels reported that there might actually be a plan founded on some kind of economic analysis. The idea seems to be smash the existing world trade order and use tariffs as leverage to coerce other countries into devaluing the dollar by pushing up the exchange value of their own currencies and paying for American protection. So essentially a mafia scheme. How plausible is it that this is actually Trump's game plan? Or is it just the opinion of a bunch of advisors and Trump is just winging it? Also, I would really like to hear your opinion on the success chances of this scheme. I think basically both American security promises and American trade deals have been proven to be worthless. So, who would seriously buy into yet another deal that isn't even voluntary or all that advantageous? We've gotten a few questions along these lines, and I think people are just looking for something to make it make sense. And the most likely situation is that Trump just has dated economic ideas and he hasn't changed them. I wouldn't look for a grand master plan here. My question is related to a new hobby, bookbinding. To practice, I was thinking of doing some survival type guides, like for first aid, medicinal plants, food plants, general wilderness skills, etc. But I am overwhelmed by the choices, and I was curious if you had a curated list of free guides in PDF format that I could download and print. I don't have a list, but you can find a bunch of PDFs online. I'd look for the United States Air Force Survival Guide and the Special Forces Medical Handbook, and so on. You can find a ton of military field manuals online and on just about every single subject. Okay, so that looks like it. A little more information, a little more context, and having the right information will make all the difference. Y'all have a good day.